Ba-da-ba-da-ba! Let's talk Prolander in a bit. So this is basically just going to be sort of a recap / reflection video where I'll talk about things from, the previous season of RGL in Australia and, reflect what was good, what was bad, and what we definitely need to change. But before we really delve into that, just a real quick, a few housekeeping notices. Even if you're not really interested in this video, we have a survey, and you should definitely do this survey. We put it together. It's not very long. It's like 6 or 7 questions, and we just want to know your opinion on some stuff, We would like to... Ooh, there's a dog outside. We want to know what your thoughts are on the league, and so we have a few questions based off of just various sort of semi-controversial to controversial points, and I want to know what you have to say. So go ahead. Link is in the description. It'll be at the very bottom. Now, final housekeeping notice. Also in the description, there's going to be a link, timestamps for all the different subjects I'm going to talk about. So if you don't care to hear me rant for like an hour about everything in the league, then go down in the description, see if there's something specific you want to hear about, click on the timestamp, and then you'll get taken straight to there. So, alright, I think that's it for that. So let's delve right into it. And let's delve in with the very first question that a lot of you have been asking, which is, when is the next season of Prolander? Well, not gonna lie, it might be a little while. It's gonna be about probably between late January to somewhere in February. And I know that might feel like a long wait, but first of all, we really want to make some pretty significant changes to the way we run things, and that's just gonna take time. We can't, we want to have time to like really delve into some stuff, rewrite some stuff, change the way things happen. And we just can't, we don't want to do that while we're running a season. Also, none of us want to run a season over Christmas, so we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to be delving into it next year. So, but if you're interested in still playing Prolander in the meantime, we're still going to be doing pugs twice a week, every week, so you can come join us there and have some fun with that if you want to keep playing Prolander. But the next official season will be a while. So, next point. VODs. So some of you have been watching the live streams, but some of you wanted to watch the recordings and the VODs and stuff. All the VODs are being deleted off of Twitch. Right now you can go watch the grand finals, but they're not going to be up there for a while. I have them all downloaded onto my computer though, and I meant to go ahead and upload them all to YouTube previously, but I never really got around to it, so I'm going to be doing it all in one big go. Probably within the next few weeks here. So if there's any particular match you wanted to watch a recording of, it'll be on this very YouTube channel. I'm just going to post them up all at once, and I might put out an announcement too when I'm about to do that. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Alright, so those are the big questions out of the way. Now let's talk about stuff that people might not be as eager to talk about. Let's talk about Toxicity and some bans that we had to do. So, how to put this? Okay, so we knew that there would be some bans, because the only people that were banned going into this first season were the people that were banned from pugs, right? And there's only like 2 or 3 people who were banned from pugs. We didn't ban anyone because they were banned from another league or anything. We did restrict access to some, like we did, there were some people we didn't let in because they had back bans or whatever, but I'm talking about people that, had like a history of toxicity or whatever, because we didn't really want other communities to judge for us whether or not someone should be allowed into a league. But, as to be expected with our first season, a very small ban list of players, there were some people who were kind of being assholes, and they did get banned. And I feel comfortable knowing that in the future it's just there's gonna be less of that, because the list of players who we cannot accept having in this league will sort of grow until it doesn't need to grow anymore. So if you felt like there might have been a lot of toxicity in this league, I'll have you know that we're, at least, all of us, but me especially, I'm really, really trying to make this to be like a non-toxic place. Like, I would say that we're a competitive community second, and we're sort of an inclusive, supportive community first. So even if you're really good at the game, even if you know a lot about it, and you being in this league would be really beneficial to its growth, I won't allow you to stay here if you're just going to be a dick the whole time. So, and that's the way it'll pretty much always be. So I'll have you know that's the direction we're taking with this, and I hope that you're okay to you're as excited for I am as just a supportive community that doesn't just get on each other's nerves every 2 seconds. So next, I want to talk about harassment, and I'm not talking about toxicity. I'm talking about like actual harassment. Part of being a supportive community is just being able to. I want this to be a place where people can go and just take a break from real life, because sometimes in real life people just have to deal with assholes all day every day. And if video games are an escape for people, but they have to deal with the same like shit they put up with in real life here, then what is even the point, you know? Why are we here? So I want you to know that if you're a member of this community and there are people who are like constantly harassing you, even outside of this community, even if there are people who are just like giving you a hard time in casual, in real life, anything like that, then if you can, like give us screenshots and sufficient evidence, then we'll consider doing something about it, because I don't want people to have to run into people they don't like there as well as here. Does that make sense? I mean, I hope that makes sense. There have been a couple of cases of people. I mean, there have been people who use binds that are, shameful chat logs that people wish they could take back. There have been people who constantly like attack each other in DMs and stuff. And I'll say this right now: if someone asks to join your team, I don't care if they're like hilariously below your skill level, or if you just don't like them because they're loud or they talk a lot. I don't care about any of that. Be polite to them, alright? Don't freaking be rude and shut them down and laugh in their face, because that's not acceptable. I want you to be polite to all members of the community, even if they do something silly and try and overstep their hand by asking you to join their team when you don't want to, right? Be polite, okay? I'm glad, I hope we're all on the same page here, because there were some people who wanted to join a team and they would ask, and then they would get completely, oh, freaking really, cat? Cat's attacking my door. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, people would ask to join a team, and they would get shut down, and they would get demoralized because of it, and that's not okay. You need to be polite to all members of the community. I don't care. Like if you don't like them, be courteous. Anyway, now that sort of ugly stuff is out of the way. Jesus Christ! 1 second. Yeah. Should I edit this out? Maybe I'll keep it in. Who knows? Cat can jump up and open my own door for me. Alright, so that ugly stuff is out of the way. Next, let's talk about medals, because we've already gotten questions about medals, and god damn it, we just finished getting the one-day cup medals to everyone, and immediately the next season finishes. It never ends. I'll let you know, I have no idea when medals will come out. Like, we can make the list, we can send it to Valve and Sigafu or whoever, but past that, there's really not much we can do. Like, it's so far out of our control. Working with like trying to get medals out of Valve and stuff is just so hard, because they never ever communicate or talk. We have no idea when new updates are going to come, so I'm not even going to give you an estimate this time. It took about 4 minutes, I wish, 4 months for the one-day cup medals to finally be released. So maybe you can expect a similar time frame for these medals. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be way sooner. Who freaking knows? I don't. I'll just be straight with you. None of the staff know when you're gonna get medals, but you will get medals. Like, we're not gonna forget about it. Don't worry. You will get them. So, yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the next season a little bit. Pick ban. So a lot of you might have seen in the North American League, they have a pick ban system for weapons, where basically each team, instead of using the default whitelist of 7 or 8 items, you have each team in one at a time ban weapons, right? So if the other team has a really good soldier, you could ban gunboats, and then in return they could maybe ban the dead ringer if your team's spy is doing really well, and it essentially evens out to about 8 bans. So we did try it in pugs, and it was time consuming, so we're not really going to do it that much in pugs in the future, but we're all really excited to get it done in the next season of Prolander, and I think a lot of people will find it interesting. It is optional. It's only going to, we're not certain how it's going to work yet, but it's almost certainly going to work like this. Basically, If both teams agree, you're going to use a pick ban system for weapons, and you're going to have to do it before the match starts. But if one of the teams, if even one of the teams wants to just go to the default whitelist, then you're going to the default whitelist. So it's going to be an opt-in thing, almost certainly, but not necessarily. I'll have you know right now that we're probably going to be rewriting all of the rules because we've been going off of the North American rules on the website, but we really want to just be more clear about the way things are and the way certain things are worded, and we all want to be on the same page. So what we're probably going to do is we're just going to rewrite all of the rules for the Australian League, and then we're going to be able to refer that. And once we do that, we'll have a much clearer sort of basis for how certain things are going to work, how pick ban systems are going to work. Hey, Cat, you want to be less annoying? God damn it. How'd you go? I'm definitely cutting that out. But yeah, we want to be when we introduce a pick ban weapon system, we want to be absolutely clear about what's supposed to happen when you use the default whitelist. So to be certain, we're just going to write up our own rule set so that, because sometimes there were points in this season where we would read the rules and we would get confused over what they meant. Not a lot to be fair, but they did happen, and that's just not really acceptable. So just to make things smoother and easier for everyone, we're just going to rewrite all of the rules. Probably. Which is one of the reasons we're taking a 2-month break, right? Because we just need time to do that and really look it over. And speaking of confusion, let's talk about staff communication. So I'm not talking about staff communicating with the community, I'm talking about staff communicating with each other, because it was kind of lacking in departments during this season. Like, for example, for the pick ban map process, that happened post-playoffs, there was a lot of confusion over whether, how do I put this? Okay, so let me just give you an example. So, basically, one team was confused over the map process, so I went to the rules page on the website and tried to walk them through it. And at that point, only at that point, like halfway through post-playoffs, someone linked me a message that Theater Techie had made over how the map pick ban process was supposed to work, and it was different to how I was telling him it should work. So there was inconsistencies in the information, and that's not good. I'm not trying to, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to blame Theater Techie. I'm just saying overall, our communication about the league was lacking in certain aspects. So we're going to be working extra hard. We're going to be making a few extra staff chat channels and stuff just to try and be a little bit more organized and try and help each other be consistent with where we're grabbing information from. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is we're probably going to just have, for next season, certain captains. So, I'll be a Div 3 captain, Techie will be a Div 2 captain, and Incision will be a Div 1 captain, just as an example. And then that way, people will know, who to contact first if they're having an issue. And we'll just be able to delegate the work more evenly, so we're not quite as thinly spread as we were during Season 1, because I did feel we were a bit thinly spread. Alright, now let's talk about something that a lot of you might have been wondering about. Salary caps. So, if you've been living under a rock, the salary cap rule is a rule that Sigafu implemented during the current season, I think Season 5, of North American Pro-Lander, that basically said Froyo Tech is not allowed to be on a team together. That's just, summed up. That's what it said. And that was very controversial, right? It was very controversial because people were like, well, what's the point of getting good if eventually you're just going to be, thrust away from each other and forced back down into, having a chance to lose even though you put time into the game. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks for Froyo Tech. Good for everyone else because they actually have a chance of winning, and Froyo Tech wins every time. And we have a similar problem with B1. B1 is so strong because all the best players congregate into one team and no other team can stand a chance, right? Because there aren't enough good players to contest them. And contrary to what a lot of people believe, salary caps actually do exist in professional sports to stop exactly this from happening. No one's excited for grand finals if everyone knows who's going to win. And, it's a little dumb because you might have noticed I only casted Div 2 matches this year, and that's not. And the reason I did that is just because they're actually exciting, because you're not as certain who's going to win each match, right? But in Div 1, the fact that B1 is there just kind of ruins that a little bit. So it's just not exciting for me, which makes it hard to cast, and it's not exciting for the viewers, so who cares? Why even bother, right? So it's like, well done, great game, you won Div 2. You know what your reward is? You're moving up to Div 1, where I will never cast a match again of yours. It's like, is it just me, or does it smell like bullshit in here? That's just not that's not good. But I'll tell you right now, we will not be implementing the salary cap rule for B1 in the next season. We're not going to do it just yet. Partially because, and there's a couple reasons for that. The main one being, we're not playing for money. We're just playing for badges and fun. The second one being, it's just not, it's not a popular enough decision yet, and we haven't even finished the first season of North American Pro Laner, so we haven't really seen how it would manifest. But I will tell you this now, that eventually it may be implemented. Eventually. That's not a guarantee, that's not a certain thing, but there are just too many problems that are caused with players stacking onto one team that that not having a salary cap makes. And also, I want to point this forward right now. The reason we're not implementing the salary cap rule does not have to do with Incision being on the staff team. Okay? Like, please stop theorizing that, because yes, it's true, the Incision is directly negatively impacted by, us implementing a salary cap rule. And even though Incision is against the salary cap rule being implemented, the fact that he's against that is not the reason we're not implementing it, okay? It's not about bias, it's about us actually considering all the pros and cons and deciding that we're not going to implement it yet, necessarily. One day we might implement it, but that day is not today. And it might not be several years from now, in fact. So, don't worry about it for the moment, but, yeah. It's a touchy subject, I know. And let's talk about one of the consequences of that. So, there was a little bit of disappointment on B1's end that there was no prize pool for this season. And especially since I mentioned that there probably would be a prize pool for this season, and then there wasn't. So you might very reasonably feel somewhat cheated. And I'll talk about why that happened and what I think about it. So yes, there was no prize pool for this season, and yes, I said that there was going to be. And it's disappointing because I really wanted there to be. But first of all, gathering a sponsor was not very easy, and other than like crowdfunding or something, which we didn't want to do for our first season, there's not really many ways to grab money. And funnily enough, one of the reasons that that getting a sponsor was so difficult is because RGL lost a lot of credibility because of the salary cap rule, which we didn't even have a say in. So I assume we would have had a say in if we knew it was happening, but we didn't know it was happening. So, but yeah, it's dumb. It's so dumb. But on top of that, the other main reason is I just kind of lacked motivation to grab a sponsorship. Who would care to pay? Like, people want to pay money because having money on the line raises the stakes and makes it exciting for everyone, right? But when you have with 99% certainty that B1 is going to win, then why bother? Right? What's the point? Why would anyone invest money into that? That's just silly. And I know it's weird that I'm arguing that no one would invest money into it because of the lack of a salary cap rule, when in fact the exact opposite occurred. But I mean, I just found it difficult to really care about getting a prize pool, and that's just the truth. Like, that's just the hard truth. Is I didn't find it necessary. And I'll tell you this right now, if we did have a salary cap rule implemented, I would be way more dedicated to finding a way to get actual money, as a prize, because then more people would actually have a chance. And it's a weird thing, because if you implement a salary cap rule, it's better for everyone except for the people who have put the most time and love into this game, right? But if you don't implement a salary cap rule, then only the people who have the most time and love into this game, come out on top, and everyone else gets screwed over. And it's not easy. It's so not easy. a really, really hard decision to make. And I'm not even blaming B1 necessarily, because, like, if you have the option to get a better player on your team, make other teams, weaker by removing good players from their, player pool that they can pick from, and making your team stronger, why wouldn't you do that? It's not B1's fault. It's the fault of us for not having a salary cap rule. So that's just the way it is. So we're probably not going to get a prize pool for some time, to be honest. However, in the survey that I mentioned earlier, we're going to vote. We're going to see and get some statistics if you would be willing to crowdfund a prize pool, or if you would be willing to pay to go into an invite league. And basically, the invite league is just like all other leagues, but you have to pay to go into it, which is, we're not confident that people would be willing to pay for a league, especially when they know who's going to win. But we'll see. We'll see. If a lot of people say that they would actually put money into a league just because they want a prize pool, then sure, maybe we'll do it. So that's why it's important for you to do the survey and find out for yourself. All right, let's talk about forfeiting. So next season, we're going to be mimicking the North American rules for forfeiting, which basically means if you forfeit a game, you don't get badges. If you forfeit 2 games, you're out of the season. And that might sound really harsh, but we had some serious problems with forfeiting this season, like especially against B1. And I get that you guys don't, B1 is so good at the game that you don't even want to try fighting against them, but it's just, it's really not healthy for the community if people don't show up for their matches, right? You need to have people on your matches, in ready to play your matches. And this sort of goes into the Merc thing. A lot of people complained that people were allowed to Merc other people in post-playoff games, right? They were saying that's dumb. It's not the players on their roster. How is that fair? And then there were other teams that were from the opposite side that thought it was unfair that enemy teams would keep denying the Mercs they tried to get for their post-playoff games. And it's like, okay, listen, when you are making your team and putting your players onto the roster, that is 12 people that you only need 7 of. That's barely over half. And those are people that are not Mercs. The other team cannot deny them. If you had players on your, in your roster up for your team that never showed up to your matches, do not invite them back onto your team for the next season, because you need to have your players be ready and willing to play games like whenever you can, right? As much available time as possible, because having to Merc like 2 or 3 players for your match is not organized, it's not good, and there's really not much we can do to help you, and it's not fair on the other team. Like, if you got upset because you tried to Merc someone and the other team denied it, it's not their fault. Like, they don't have to go against a player that they fear just because you were not organized and you didn't have your team ready to go. So, yeah, it's a weird, touchy subject, but that's the way it's going to be. So, next season, forfeiting is not going to be quite as tolerated, and Mercing Players is also going to be a little bit. Well, it's probably going to stay exactly the same. But I guess what I mean by Mercing Players is it's not going to change. But if you don't want to have to go up against Merc players, then you can deny them, except for the first one. So, keep your team ready. Be ready to move on. Anyway, one more thing I want to talk about in terms of forfeiting is throwing. A lot of people would say that throwing a match is forfeiting, but unfortunately, there's not really any strict ways to define throwing, because it's not really easily identifiable. Like, sometimes players are just playing bad and it can look like they're throwing when they're not. So if we enforce rules against throwing, it would just be awkward. So we're not going to enforce rules against throwing. But I do want to say this. So there were some complaints from B1 that people would just constantly forfeit and throw, and they never really got to properly play a match. But to be honest, I kind of lack sympathy for B1 in this category, because there are plenty of other teams that would love to have you on them. If you want a challenge, anyone on B1, if you want an actual challenge and you want to push yourself and you want to see how far you can take a team that you're not quite used to, then don't sign up for B1 next season. Sign up for a different team. See, because part of the skill in this game is being able to take the players and get the best out of them, Because teams need a good leader. They really do. Because if they don't, then they're not going to be playing optimally, and they're not going to be as strong. Like, we saw it earlier in the season. Teams with lower DM would come out on top because of their superior strategical play. That's kind of the way Prolander is. It's the way Team Fortress 2 is. So if you want to if you want to try and take your skills to the next level, consider signing up for a different team. Anyway, that's all I want to say about that. Next thing, let's talk about the website. So I'm going to say it right now. I hate the website. I don't like the website at all. Almost every single game from semi or quarterfinals onwards, people had issues inputting their scores into the website, and Techie had to manually put them in. On top of that, when I would try to go do things on the website, the admin panel would just break half the time, and I wouldn't know why. I would have no explanation. I'd just have to wait till tomorrow and hope it decided to work. I really don't like the website, and I'm certain that I'm not alone in that. However, there's not a lot we can do about it. We can talk, like, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk to North America, our buddies up in North America. We're gonna talk to Sigafu. We're gonna see if we can get some quality of life improvements and just performance improvements on the website. But I mean, when it comes down to it, it's not our website necessarily, so there's only so much we can do, and the only other option is making our own website, and we just straight up do not have the manpower or the time to make a website, at least not right now. Maybe that's something we'll do eventually, but for, you know, it's not likely that it's going to happen anytime in the next, like, 10 seasons. So I really wish I this is one I feel bad for, because I really, really wish I could give you a website that worked well. I want to make everything perfect and easy and smooth, but there's sometimes you just can't, not easily. So, yeah, I mean, if I was getting paid full-time to do this, I would spend every day and every night trying to put together a perfect website for you all, but I just don't have that luxury, unfortunately. So that's a bummer. That's something I wish I could fix for season 2, but I can't. So, swig of tea. Anyway, casting. Let's talk about casting and just the casts in general. So, I thought the casts were okay, and I do want to say, if you want to support Prolander but you don't have, like, you know, spare money, or you don't have a lot of time to dedicate to being a staff member, one of the best ways you can support it is just by turning up to the streams. That's all you have to do. You don't even have to subscribe or put, you know, cheer or anything. Like, all you have to do is watch the streams, because that alone grows Prolander. I have the statistics, and I know that a lot of people look at, you know, find Prolander through the Twitch streams. I know that they're finding them in the browse page and watching it and watching significant portions of it. That's how people know that this exists. So just by turning up to the streams, you are actually being an incredible help to the season. So, and just Prolander in general. So that's one of the best ways you can do it. Let's talk about the overall quality of the stream, though. So I know that it was very bare bones. I don't have any, like, subscriber emotes. I don't have any bots or anything like that saying who the casters are. And that's all stuff I really, really want to see. Believe me, I do. It's something that I plan on starting, or, you know, trying to get to work so it works. So that how do I put this? It's something I really want to work on over the holidays. Is all I want to say. Next season. I hope that you'll be able to expect much better stream quality. You might even be able to hear that I set up a pop filter for my mic, so when I say pop, it doesn't blow out the mic quite as much, which is super useful, super useful, because it did that a lot during the casts, and that is just, you can't have that. I'm super happy that you stuck around, though, even though it wasn't, like, super up to, like, maximum quality all the time. Another thing I want to talk about in the realm of casting is just our casters in general. I thought most of them were pretty good, both myself and other casters. So, I mean, I didn't really hear many complaints, but I think we did pretty good considering we built it virtually from scratch. So, I was happy with the quality of the casts. It's just the quality of the live stream that I want improved. But there is one part of the stream that is far from perfect that I really want to sort out before next season, and that is the camera. Yes, from pretty much all of the season, I both casted and ran the camera at the same time, and that's not on. That's hard. And there were points that people correctly, you know, there were points during the cast where people would correctly point out that I would miss a 5K or a medic drop or something really important, and that's because I was too busy casting that I honestly didn't even notice it was going on. And I couldn't move the camera over there. I've gotten better at doing camera and casting at the same time, but it's just straight up just so difficult. So that's why I want to say we're hiring a cameraman. Now, I say the word hiring, you won't get paid. None of the RGL staff get paid. But, like, if we get the stream to a point where we can have, like, a donation thing or people subscribe and we can make money off of it, then I'll give you a cut of that because that would be a significant contribution. However, for cameraman hiring, I want to say, I want you to be dedicated. I want you to have your weekend afternoons free almost all the time so that you're there and ready to do the camera. And I want you to be super willing to just like go overboard with the Twitch channel and make it as effective or as good looking as possible. And on top of that, I also would really, this is the biggest one, I want you I don't want you to be part of the league. Because if someone signs up for the league and then comes on to do camera, it just won't work out because you're going to have to be playing in officials, and I can't count on you if you're going to be playing in officials. And unfortunately, the list of people who are dedicated enough to Prolander to want to play it, but not dedicated enough to like... Sorry, the list of people who are dedicated enough to Prolander to give time into setting up a cast and doing it every week, but not dedicated enough to want to play in the league is very small. Like, it's Techie and me, and like that's it. Everyone else, all the other staff, are just don't have the time, or they're playing in the league. So if you are willing to sacrifice your spot in the league to really push forward the quality of the streams in Prolander in general, then hit me up on Discord or send me a message on Steam, and we can work it out because it would be really, really beneficial to the longevity of this league. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I will say this: I'm not gonna do it camera myself. I know that Techie tried to do camera by himself, but his internet just isn't good enough to stream it. And on top of that, while I could do the camera and then get 2 casters each, I don't want to do camera. Like, that's all it comes down to, is I hate doing the camera and I love casting. I feel so in my element casting matches, and I'm not going to give that up because for this, I'm not getting paid, so I'm running off of passion alone. And if I have to do something I hate every week, then that's going to dry up fast. I'll just let you know right now. And from that point forward, it's going to get a lot harder. So that's why it is of like the utmost importance for the stream's sake that we get a cameraman as soon as possible. Alright, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and this is another thing that we're talking about in the poll, is the change of the default date. So for this season we went with Thursday, and as it turns out, that was a terrible idea because pretty much all of our staff are busy on Thursday nights except for Theater Techie. So Techie was just so overworked because every time a default match would come around, he would be the only one that was able to solve the problems. So we're probably, unless we get backlash, this is one of the things that's in the survey, as I said, so make sure you vote so we can know your opinion on it. We want to know if you would be okay with moving it to Saturday. And I know Saturday conflicts with a lot of your other official dates for other competitive, things. But we just feel that it would be the best day overall to have our officials on. So if you would be willing to either... And as always, that's just the default day. You can always delay your matches and do it on Sunday or Monday or whatever day works for you. You don't have to do it on Saturday if that becomes the default date. It's just that Saturday will be the most common day that we do it, which just means we're going to get around to doing more streams and stuff. Because finding the time in the afternoon to actually pull off a cast on a weekday is just really difficult. Alright, I think that's pretty much everything, so thanks for watching if you watched the whole thing, and even if you just watched part of it, then I appreciate that. I want to give you one more reminder to go vote in our... I say vote, it's more of a poll. If like 90% of people say they want a salary cap rule implemented, that doesn't mean we're going to implement it. We just want to know what you think, so we can consider that when we make some decisions for Season 2. And that's going to be in the description of this video, way down below, past all the timestamps. So go there, do us proud, and put your thoughts out in the poll. And yep, thank you all for attending the season. Oh wait, there was one more thing I want to talk about. One more thing. The credit sequence. So I know. Okay, I'm glad you liked the credit sequence because going into it, I was really nervous. Because it's really weird to have a credit sequence for like an esports thing. No one does that. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm like a really big sucker for like sappy credit sequences. And on top of that, I just really wanted to thank everyone. So even though it's really weird and you might have disliked it, I'm going to keep doing it. Next season and every season onward, I'm going to keep making credit sequences. Just to thank the people who, you know, like give us money to keep us going, or put their passion and love into it, or attend the pugs just to, you know, and give us feedback. All those people, I just want to keep thanking them, so I'm going to keep thanking them in the form of credit sequences. So I hope you're understanding of that. And I mean, it's not like it matters. It's not like freaking Marvel. We're not going to force you to sit through the credits so you can watch some bonus after credit sequence. You can just leave as soon as they start. So, anyway, that's it for me. I'm going to head out. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you, if I don't see you in Pugs, then I'll see you either January or February for Season 2 of Prolander. Take care, everyone.